Well, welcome everyone. We're excited to dive in. I'm going to hand things over to our presenters to get started for us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jason Cools. I've been with Green Shades for 2 years now, and I work on the tax and HR team here at Green Shades.
Awesome. And I'm Eric Lowe. I'm the product manager over the development team that develops all of our tax software and tools. Been here since July this year, so I'm a little new to the game, but happy to be here.
Perfect. And just a quick legal disclaimer before we dive into the webinar for today. The content you will see, it's not formal legal advice, so always important to consult with your local counsel, as well as your organization's legal and accounting teams. The purpose for today's presentation is just to provide a high-level overview of year-end form process and how Green Shades can help. Outside of that as well, Green Shades also partners with My HR Counsel. So if you're looking for additional information, My HR Counsel is an affordable, online, and on-demand legal advice platform. So with that, we'll jump into the first section for today's webinar. We'll take a look at some different 1099 form types, along with some important deadlines to consider for this year as well. So with that, we'll start off by just taking a look at some of the most common 1099 forms, starting with the 1099 miscellaneous. It's going to be used to report miscellaneous income, so such as prizes or fees. And then the 1099 NEC is specifically for non-employee compensation. So think freelancers, independent contractors. And then for those that are managing investment incomes, the 1099 dividend will cover dividends and distributions as well. Next, outside of those common form types, there's other various 1099 form types as well. There's quite a few of them, so I won't touch on all of them here. But like Jerica mentioned, we will be sharing this slide deck. So if you need to refer back at any point, definitely feel free to do so. The 1099K, I'm just going to call out right now. We'll have a slide on that form type a little bit later on today. But that's going to be for reporting things like credit card, debit card, and payment app transactions. And just important to note, with the 1099 having multiple different form types, from an organizational standpoint, it's just going to be important that you understand which form type you all need to file for, and that you have the appropriate data come year end. On the next few slides, we'll have some important deadlines. No need to remember all of the details. Again, we'll be sending out the presentation to you all, along with our 2025 HR and tax calendar, which will include all of the 1099 deadlines, year-end information, along with some other important filing dates as well. One thing to consider with these deadlines, just make yourself aware of what the deadlines will be for each different form type. There are some changing deadlines based on the information you all need to report. So for example, the 1099 miscellaneous and 1099 NEC both have a recipient due date of January 31st of 2025. But if you are reporting payments in box 8 or 10 for the 1099 miscellaneous, the due date will be February 15th of 2025. So just be aware of, any changes regarding those deadlines. Okay, and then I'll pause just for a moment on the next two slides. If you want to jot down any notes, definitely feel free to do so. Okay, and then we have the cost of not staying compliant. So every year, the numbers will change. We did see some slight increases for this upcoming filing year. But beneath that, you'll see a nice graphic just showing, what those fines will look like, 30 days late, after 30 days, and then for any intentional disregard to file. An important note at the bottom as well. So for clients submitting returns through Green Shades, files must be provided by 11 a.m. the day before of the deadline, or 2 days prior for any annual form submissions as well. All right. And with that, I will pass it over to Eric.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. We have a few call outs, so I want to go over things that are changing or being updated with certain forms. Just a quick overarching point. The IRS is very rapidly trying to move to handle a lot of growth when it comes to their e-filing, which we'll talk a little bit more about more in depth here in a second. But these are all things that are going to impact either specific forms or overarching processes in your filing. So we'll start with the 1099K. We do have some reporting requirements that have been updated. Previously, the 1099K, the requirements were any over or any transactions totaling over $20,000 and more than 200 transactions annually, specifically through payment processors like PayPal, Venmo, etc. Now, for the 2024 tax year, this threshold is dropping pretty drastically, all the way down to just $600 and no transaction minimum. Now, I know we're not seeing this on the slide itself. As Jason mentioned, we will be sending out some notes along with these slides as well. So don't worry, you will be able to read it there. But just as reminder, was 20,200 transactions, and now it is $600 and no transaction minimum. This change is going to mean that there's going to be a lot more small business owners, freelancers, even casual sellers that are going to be receiving these 1099K forms for reporting these payments. Now, this shift, as most of the stuff the IRS is doing, is aiming to close the gaps in unreported income. But without going too much into it, it is going to place a lot of added responsibility on the businesses to track and report to these amounts accurately. So it is vital to prepare now for the increased volume of these forms that you might have to issue or be on the receiving end of. With that, I'll jump down to the 1099 MISC or miscellaneous, specifically updates in the Box 14. Box 14 is now requiring more detailed reporting for non-qualified deferred compensation. This, again, similar to the last one, it's trying to make sure that, the right amounts are being filed where they should. So we're just trying to make sure, or the IRS is trying to make sure that things that shouldn't be falling under typical employee wages are being accurately reported, hence why it's on the miscellaneous form. Particularly, these cases are often going to be where there are deferred compensation plans that exist outside of things like qualified retirement plans. So companies are now going to need to be very meticulous in tracking things like this. Errors being reported in this deferred compensation area could lead to some compliance issues or trigger, IRS scrutiny, investigations, etc. So something we want to make sure everyone's aware of. As I mentioned, as the IRS is planning to have, I believe it's like 4 billion information returns that it's going to process annually, or at least that's their expectation this year. They're trying to make sure that the e-filing threshold is, set at the proper amount to make sure that people have the ability to get all of these files in, and that they have, a timely process in order to go through what they need to do. So they have been gradually lowering these thresholds. This means that organizations are going to be required to e-file more than they have in the past, even if they've historically used paper submissions. This change, again, is just going to help the IRS manage all the returns that they're processing and making sure that it's aligned to their goals of increasing efficiency and reducing paperwork and things like that. That'll serve as a segue to our next slide, which are the benefits of e-filing. So above all else, the aim here is to reduce administrative burden and allow seamless e-filing with a product like Green Shades. That's our goal at the end of the day. And that's why we serve clients like yourselves or anyone else using our tools. Environmentally, it's a friendly approach. Less paper waste, less issues with saving trees and things like that. And overall, it should reduce year-end filing costs overall as well. You won't have as much printing issues, as much shipping issues, things like that, when you can use a certified e-filing program. With that, I think we're going back to Jason.
Perfect. Thanks, Eric. So in the next section, we'll take a look at some common 1099 filing challenges, really just some things to look out for so that you have a seamless year-end season coming up. So with that, we've identified just several common challenges for 1099 filing we see each year. One major issue is filing too early or too late. So it's important to wait until all tax reporting documents are received, but not to an extent where you delay the year-end process in which you could risk facing any penalties. Also with that, you just want to make sure that you wait until you have the latest version of your forms so that The data leading up until your file submission is correct and compliance for submission. When it comes to incorrect taxpayer identification numbers, having incorrect or missing TIN numbers can cause serious delays. It can cause rejections. So making sure that those numbers are accurate before filing will be essential to stay compliant when submitting your returns. So with filing through a solution like GreenShades, we do provide a tool for the ability to verify and validate those TIN numbers. And within the GreenShades platform, once that verification comes back from the IRS, if there's any warnings or errors based on your vendor TIN numbers, we will provide you with a warning and give you the opportunity then to make that correction within GreenShades, making your forms compliant. On that topic as well, we also do partner with McCorma for instant verification of SSN numbers, TIN numbers. So again, if you would like more information from McCorma, definitely feel free to reach out and they can share some great info on that as well. Okay. And then another common mistake is filing the wrong type of 1099s. So I know I kind of touched on it earlier, but it's just crucial that you're making sure you have all the correct data. It's assigned to the correct 1099 type. For instance, if you were to say report contractor payments on a 1099 miscellaneous when it should be on a 1099 NAC, that's an example of where those issues can come into play. So again, just double checking, which form aligns with each type of payment will be critical to maintain that compliance when submitting your forms. Another common question that I receive each year as well is regarding the 1096 form. So the 1096 is only needed when submitting a paper filing. And with submitting electronically through GreenShades, we will automatically include a summary page on your federal 1099 submission. So no additional work will be needed from a 1096 standpoint. Okay. And then when it comes to failure to file when filing is required, again, essential to know, which vendors, contractors, or freelancers will require a 1099 form. And then any non-employee compensation of $600 or more typically will require a 1099 form to be filed. So just important, as you ramp up for year end, understanding those requirements so that, you have that smooth filing season coming up. And then finally, when it comes to incorrect addresses or vendor or employee information, you just want to make sure that information is accurate, not only so that you have a smooth submission of your forms, but also from a distribution standpoint as well. Any incorrect details can delay delivery, especially for forms being sent in the mail as well. And just a quick reminder on this topic as well. Federal tax documents can't be forwarded by the post office to a new address. So any delay in receiving forms can cause frustrations, whether it's from your vendors, your employees, or it can create those compliant risks within your organization as well. A final note I had on this topic with filing through GreenShades. So our platform is built on compliance. So if it's a case where, based on your data for your vendors or employees, if there's things like an incorrect zip code for a vendor address or an employee address, we will understand, what that warning is. We'll issue clients that warning so they can review and make those corrections within GreenShades before submitting their forms. All right. And then with that, I will send it back over to Eric to wrap things up for today.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. I want to jump right into the power of year-end software. Specifically, there will be some differences here, whether or not you're using GreenShades payroll client or if you're a non-GreenShades payroll client. We'll have a couple different workflows that we'll see on this next slide. First, if you are a GreenShades payroll client, things are ideally pretty easy. You use the export function, you get your Excel template, has all the 1099 data in there. You upload that into our year-end forms product, just making sure or ensuring that each 1099 form is in its own sheet, so we don't have any errors there. And then you should be well on your way. For non-Green Shades payroll clients, we have a little fork here where there are two different workflows again. If you are non-Green Shades payroll, but you are using GP, there is a sync feature that we use or utilize in the Green Shades ecosystem, where your year-end data can just utilize the sync feature and get uploaded into the proper format for year-end forms. You will still need to fill this out into an Excel template. Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with that process, as I am a little new on if that's manual or not. So if we are any questions there, we'll follow back up. But that is the high-level version of that process there. If you are non-GP or utilizing anything other than GP, it's kind of all manual there. You are required to fill it out however you best can, and then proceed that way. That being said, we'll kind of take a look at what the general steps will be. So for filing here, again, getting your data imported via whatever integration you're using there in Excel format, making sure your company is set up properly, having your vendor identity verification is number 3. Any issues or areas in your format or in your data, that may cause a rejection, things like negative amounts where they shouldn't be, too many decimals, things like that are common issues there. Just making sure that those are there, you verify your totals, and then you can move to distribute your forms. Just one little note there, if you do have state or local returns, you will continue to file and distribute these forms yourself. We are slowly trying to figure out how we can get those updated, but at this time, we aren't handling those in our YEF system. So
Perfect. And just to conclude for today, just some of the key takeaways. So again, for filing 1099s, just making sure that you have the correct forms, determining those 1099 form types that you must file, and staying on top of those critical filing deadlines. Simplify complex processes where you can. So reducing the risk of any errors can not only save your team some time, but also for vendors, employees, and with partnering with an expert solution like Green Shades for year-end filing, we can take away some of that guesswork and help reduce any risk when it comes to year-end filing. And then finally, just be ready for those year-end changes, ensuring that forms are timely and accurate to avoid any fines and penalties, and just staying on top of those filing requirements can go a long way for year-end. So that brings us to the end of the webinar for today. I believe we'll have a quick just Q&A session. If there are any questions, feel free to drop them into the chat and we can work to get those answered today. All right, so I do see some of the questions here, so I will just kind of comb over them here real quick and read them out loud. First question here from James. For the team, the 1099K update means any payment made via credit card is reportable this year. Eric, I'm not sure if you have any information on that you could touch on.
The 1099K form is used to report payments made through payment card transactions such as credit or debit cards and third-party payment networks while certain thresholds are met. So for the current tax year, the IRS is requiring payment settlement entities to report transactions if the total payment amount exceeds the $600, which is what we had mentioned. However, not every credit card payment will be reported. Only those processed through a payment settlement entity that meets the $600 threshold will trigger a 1099K. So if I translate that a little bit, so if your specific processor that you're using or entity to do said payment via your credit card, if that exceeds that $600 threshold, then you will receive that report from the sounds of it.
Perfect. Appreciate that. Okay. And then we have another question regarding state filings. So for 1099s, we do follow suit with the combined federal combined states program with the IRS. We can definitely send out some more information on that. But based on that program's existence today. We do not offer state 1099 submissions through Green Shades. But again, that program can help mitigate some of the work required for state filings. Another question here is in regards to 1095s for the state of California. Trina, we will have an upcoming webinar to include more information for things like W-2 filing, 1095s. We do have some specific information for the state of California if that is needed. So that's definitely something my team can follow up with you on and just make sure you have all the info you need on that. Okay, another question just in regards to asking if the forms are ready at this time. So as far as clients reaching out, we can definitely work to get you set up with a quote or any information needed for year-end filing. Existing clients do have the ability to go ahead and submit their filings once our year-end site goes live. Typically, it will go live on January 1st. And at that time, clients are able to begin uploading their forms, complete the filing steps to submit their files. But if any information is needed ahead of time, you can definitely reach out to our sales team. We can set you up with a quote and provide any additional information that's needed as well. Was there an update to your 1099 form for form filing format to include DBA lines?
Awesome. So it looks like the answer we got from that, the DBA should be placed in the vendor 2 field, and the IRS registered name goes in vendor 1. So hopefully that helps.
Perfect. And if there's any further questions on that, definitely feel free to reach out, and we can have our tax team or support team provide you with some more info. All right. As we're approaching time here, I'm just going to look for any additional questions. Looks like we have one regarding, will you be hosting a demo of the actual process for uploading year-end forms and navigating the website? Yes, that should be a piece of our next demo, our next webinar on December 17th. So be on the lookout for that. We can definitely send over an invite, but we will have a piece of that webinar focused on a live demo of going through some of the year-end checklist steps and giving you the chance to see the product live as well.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, thank you all again.
Take care.